and back to a speed run video. And the idea of these videos, as you might be aware, I'm going to take you hopefully through the ratings all the way from we started at 800 up to infinity and beyond. Now when I say speed run, it's actually taking a bit of time, so snail run as I say, but the whole point is I want to show you typical mistakes that people make around this grade boundary that hopefully you can relate to and avoid, and also what you should be doing, so giving you some tidbits. Now I'm simply controlling the center of the board here with these 2 pawns, and I'm now gonna bring my knight out. This is following an opening course that I know. My opponent is playing this hippopotamus variation. Now at the start of the game, if you just follow normal principles like control the center, get your pieces out, you can't really go wrong. You don't have to do anything that special. Generally, if you can get 3 pawns in the center, 3 is better than 2, right? So let's bring 3 pawns into the center there. And I'm going to bring my knight out behind it just to support those pawns, and I'm going to try and develop in a sensible way. My opponent trying to strike in the center, and as I like my pawns, I'm going to just push on. That blunts out the light square bishop on b7. My opponent giving up his other bishop. He's playing very quickly, but I'm not really sure what his plan is here, because giving up that bishop is going to weaken his structure quite a lot. Okay, well he's coming to attack my center as much as he can. This is his idea. If I push on, he takes here, so he's trying to cause my center some damage. So an interesting strategy, but I don't really believe it. So bishop d3, the normal developing move, he maybe goes c4. I can take on c4, but then he gets some play. So I'm going to actually just move my knight back to defend this pawn. And I want to play c4 and e5, push these pawns in the center of the board. So I'm going to control this pawn by going here, and my bishop now, dark square bishop, can come to this square, which is very handy. But more importantly, my central structure, this is really a demonstration of using the center of the board. And this bishop that he's given up already, I'm not going to use highlights for this one, trying to get you in the habit of sort of trying to see the board. I know this might be a little bit complicated because I don't know how I've turned the highlights off. In the next game I'll get highlights. I'll try to blag it then, but you know. But try to get in the habit of visualization. Visualizing the board is one of the most powerful things you can do. So when I say G7, what kind of square is that? Try to get used to your battleground. But giving up this bishop that defends his king is really a very, very risky idea. And my knight now has done its job, so I'm going to move it back just so my bishops can come out. He's trying to break in the center of the board. My pawn is defended well on e5, that one there, which is attacking. I don't want to take it and get rid of my pawns, so I'm just going to continue playing very sensibly, developing my pieces. And again, he's playing without much thought here, and I've just blundered horribly. Oh my words, can you see the tactic? That is a disgusting move. Oh my words, he's found it. Oh no, could I be losing the game? My position was so good, and I've just realized he's going to take here with check. Now again, I wanted to play a losing combination just so you know. I'm blagging it. Just so you can see how to come back from a dead loss position. So I'm going to take here, and we are going to be a piece down now. But I've had worse. And in this position, after he takes the rook, what happens when you get a bad position? Well, don't panic. But when your position is clearly losing, which it should be here, the strategy you want to play is to take more risks. You want to just throw everything at your opponent's king, and I'm going to do that because it doesn't matter if you're taking risks. If you're losing anyway, that's when you can really free up your game, and you can just lob everything at your opponent's position. And he's still got this weakened king and bad pieces on the queen side, so it's not that bad at the moment. But I really obviously should not have fallen for that tactic. So what can I try to do here? Well, I can try to get his knight out the way and then come in on the F file. I can try to push and open up his king. I can even attack his queen with my bishop. I've got to move a little bit quicker, and I feel like this one, I don't know which pawn I should have pushed there, but this one seems natural. Now he can go knight takes pawn here, and that could be another very good tactic. Pawn takes, bishop takes d5, and he's coming through here. But again, when you've got a bad position, you've got to take risks, and I just fell for that very stupid tactic. Cursing myself here, but knight takes here does look like a very good move. He's also threatening a knight jump, which will cause me a lot of trouble. So knight takes here, if he finds this move, could be very strong. I probably should have played something like rook f1, preparing something over there and getting my rook off this diagonal. But if he finds knight takes d5, he's played a good game from a bad position. And what can you do? Okay, so he's playing a much slower approach. I'm very happy to see that, because there is a lot of danger to his king. And now things should get okay for me. I've got to move quicker. So take here, king here, and then something like rook to f1. This rook f1 move is going to be very strong at the right time. But I might as well continue by opening up his king. And what my opponent maybe hasn't done here, he had to get these pieces developed, and he wanted to get this rook over here. But now this position is very unclear. I mean, maybe I could even be better. I don't know if I'm being optimistic, but here comes Harry-O. Harry-O, not Haribo. I like a Haribo, but I also like Harry-O. And how do we continue this? Well, I got rook to this square. Very interesting move. If he takes it, my queen comes to the back rank, and you can see how the coordination's gone. I've got to move instantaneous now. And all I'm doing when I have a lost position is just going all in. There's no point messing about. I've got to throw everything at his position. I might bring the bishop out next move. You can't play cautiously. Okay, so he's come here. Another good move from my opponent there. And I'm missing a lot at the moment. I can't let him take my queen with check. So I've got to move my queen back here. Now, place your bets. Will I lose a game? My first game. Been having an awful run recently. I tell you what, it hasn't been pleasant. Or can we come back? So queen here. I've got to calculate quickly. Bishop here, check. That looks good for him. Queen here. What am I going to play in that position? Okay, he's come here. Bishop come out. Got to attack his knight, and I think that was a mistake. When you're playing chess in a sharp position, you should always look at the most critical move first, and he hasn't done that. And now my bishop is able to come in, and suddenly, just by playing a couple of dubious moves, he's collapsed here. But a little bit of a scare. I don't get scared. Not at all. And I'm now going to do this for a series of checks. My rook and queen are too strong in this position for him, and it's forced checkmate. So we can have a look and see what he did wrong. This one is checkmate next move, wherever he moves the king. And there we go. It's so easy. And well, I mean, well played to my opponent for spotting that tactic, and it just shows you that, you know, you really need to keep your wits about you. But if we look at the position and the things that, well, my opponent did wrong, I don't really trust this hedgehog system. And I think when you're starting out in chess, I mean, imagine my opponent got a good position. He could have really challenged me. Well, he did, but he could challenge me straight away. And I think you just got to pick a more stable opening than this hippo. If you're trying to learn, you want to learn something. It doesn't have to be too theoretical, but this is a bit passive. I take the center as much as I can, and this move I also don't like, because I feel his bishop is a very strong piece. And actually, it did come down, even though he won a piece, it came down to him not having that defender of his king. That was key. So just knowing what pieces to exchange and not to exchange when you play an opening is key. You need to know what to do with each of your pieces from the opening you play. Where should they go? Should you exchange them? If so, for what and why? Always think why. The W's. Why are you playing that move? What are you doing? And you should be able to answer those questions. And later on, well, I fell for this tactic. I let my guard down in this position, and after f6, well, this was really not a great move. I should have just put the bishop on b2 and covered my fantastic center there with a great position. Let's go to another game and see if I can do a little bit better. But really, I wanted to do that on purpose, lose a piece, just to show you how to come back from a bad position. You know, that was the whole point of this. Nothing about me blundering. I'm just bluffing something somewhere. Okay, on to the next one. Okay, so now we have the black pieces, and throughout this series I've been playing e5, and I'm really learning this with you. I do know it a bit, but I don't know it as well as I should do for my standards, so we're playing this together really. Now my opponent, we're getting up the grading slowly, but I'm going to start with the ideas we've seen in the previous videos, standard development. My opponent playing the 4 knights opening here. You don't have to force the issue at the start of the game, just play sensible moves. My opponent sensibly developing, and I now know that knight takes e4 is the move that you're supposed to play, when my opponent can probably play some sacrificial ideas. But you know what, I don't really want to enter into a line he knows. Okay, well, let's do it. Let's not be too scared. This is the major test and the best move, and we should play the most critical moves. And the point of this, and again, this is knowing these little themes in the opening. When you play an opening, try to know the little themes, the little ideas when you're playing it. And here, the move d5 is winning a piece back because we are forking those 2 pieces. And the main move he should be playing is moving the bishop back here, because now, after this little exchange, how has it helped me? Well, I won the bishop pair. This bishop could be very strong. I'm going to move my queen somewhere. You know what? To keep it all the way out of trouble, I'm just moving it all the way back. And I have a little bit more influence in the center of the board. My opponent's played this d3 move. I wouldn't have played that. That seems a little bit passive because my king's still here. If I was white, I would have castled and tried to break it open. And I've got to think where I'm going to move my bishop. Maybe he wants to move something here. So I'm just going to play my bishop to a square where it doesn't do a great deal, but I'm thinking that castles is most important. Now I could castle, and I will castle. The other option is I've got one more piece to develop, and we've got to think of the best square. And my opponent's doing this typical thing, maybe slight mistake that happens a lot at this level. He's only really thinking about his own ideas, and he's not considering my most natural moves. And my most natural move here is this incredibly unpleasant pin that I've now put his knight under. I find players moving too quickly at this time limit, and I'm very happy to lose this pawn if he plays g4. That's well worth a pawn investment. He can do g4 to break the pin, but his king's very open. And again, why is he playing this move? This is one of those moves I mentioned in the last game where if you can't explain it why, and I can't really see why here, maybe you shouldn't be playing it. I suppose his idea is to come to g3, try to break the pin. Now, I could go f5, knight here, and take there. That looks very pleasant. I want to go knight here, but then he does go g4, and his knight takes on e5. So, you know what I'm going to do? As e5 is the problem in a lot of these variations, I'm simply going to play f6, creating a pawn chain. He's moving instantaneous. I'm just going to move my bishop back. I like that bishop. And he's only spent half a minute getting a worse position here. And again, this move, I mean, I can't criticize it too much, but it's a nothing move. What's that bishop doing? He is developing, but not to get castled. There's no reason behind that. I'm going to gain some space on the queen side, and he's allowing me to do that by this bishop maneuver. He's playing very quickly, maybe trying to flag me, but you're never going to learn anything by doing that, and he simply loses a piece now. Don't play chess to flag. You're not going to learn anything. You can flag when you're short of time if you want to win, but what's the point of playing chess if you're just trying to flag? It really, you're only going to get worse at chess. And my opponent now going for some desperate combination and a quick little tactical thing can say I can take the bishop here. I could also take the knight. I'm going to take the bishop because more pawns get exchanged, more pieces get exchanged, and when your material up, exchanging is good. And also his knight on d7 could be trapped in the position. He has to do something about this pawn, because where is this knight moving to? I can't see any square it's going to be safe at, so I'm simply winning more material here. So what have I done in this game to get a winning position? I haven't, again, done anything particularly special. I mean, he resigned at the right time there, so thank you for resigning. I would like to remind everyone that every points I win in this speedrun are giving back to my opponents. So it's, you know, it's just a good chance to play a Grandmaster and then maybe learn from your mistakes afterwards. So it really is, they are giving back the points. But what my opponent did wrong here, well, bishop c4, again, you should really know the first 10 moves of any opening. There's so many great resources out there. YouTube, you can use gchess.com. That is what I would suggest. A little bit biased, but it's a great way to learn openings. Chessable, GingerGM videos. But you should really know about these basic tricks. And after I get this little sequence of events, I'm already better here because I've got a better center and a bishop. My opponent continues to play very quickly here. And this d3 I don't like, because if he castles, he might be able to use his development to open my king up. d3 restricts his possibilities. Never restrict your possibilities. The moves go on, and here, if I was white, I would have played h3, because I can see this pin was extremely annoying, and I would have been looking at what my opponent wants to play and aiming to stop that at some point. He doesn't do that. I like what he does now, actually. Originally, I wasn't sure why he was doing this, but I see the point. But the next move may not look like a mistake, but actually bishop d2 and bishop c3 lost him the game. He puts this bishop on the square, but because of my pawn structure, he's not doing the why. Why am I playing this? There's no real reason to do this. You develop your pieces in chess, but only if it helps your position. And this actually allowed me to play this b4 move, which he walked into and lost him the game. What else could he do here? Well, if you're not sure about what to do, look at improving your pieces. I don't think this does, because maybe the bishop's better here. And also look at pawn breaks. Maybe something with c3 and d4 would have been more proactive. Okay, let's get into another game and see if we can find out some more things. So we're going to stick to the same opening plan, and the opening plan is to simply play here. Now bishop c4, this is one move I'm not sure about. So if you're faced with a move you're not sure about, think about, I know I've covered this one, but again my memory is not fantastic anymore. I'm just going to bring the knight out here so I can castle soon. And here I'm thinking about bringing my bishop out simply and getting castled. I could play a little bit more adventurously with c6. Maybe that's going to try and punish the bishop, but I don't really want to open things up until I'm castled. So I'm going to bring my bishop here. Why here? Because I'm thinking one of the reasons he's left his knight on g1 is he might be trying to play f4, and my bishop's very good here. And now that he's attacking this pawn, I'm simply going to develop that pawn. I like this move. He's stopping me doing this. This is what my opponent didn't do in the last game. Very nice prophylactic move. And in this position, though, I see no reason not to castle. Again, not doing anything particularly special. I'm looking at what my opponent's doing. I'm developing. I'm castling. I'm controlling the center. And it's the planning stage around about now, which could be important. Now, my opponent has played another good move. He's grabbing space in the center. And now he has a space advantage. So I'm thinking now, if I play a little bit slowly and he castles, he's going to have this pawn here. Now this pawn could be a strength, but at the moment it's a weakness. And while he hasn't castled, I'm going to start trying to do some moves that might probe that pawn. In actual fact, this is quite similar to the last game. My opponent plays a good move, bishop here. Now I wanted to play knight takes e4 here. Bishop takes d8, knight takes c3, discovered check, and then knight takes queen. And otherwise I wouldn't have allowed this pin. I would have played h6. But when you're playing a little combination, and this might seem like quite a complex combination, but if you look at the basic ideas, he's not castled. I'm attacking this pawn, so the next natural step is, can I actually take it? Well, if I take it, and again, this might be a little bit higher level than what we're looking at, but it looks to me that I'm going to win material. So I have just seen that this one is actually very interesting. King takes, and then he has check. Then my king comes back. He takes my queen. Okay, I'm going to go for it. Now, this is a very interesting move here. And after king takes, he tries to get his queen to a better square. Check, but I move my king back, and if he takes my queen, my knight always has a move which I call an ambush. Wherever I move that knight, I'm ambushing his queen. So if I can ever move that knight where I attack the queen, I win the queen back. So if his queen ever comes here with some check, I can always ambush it. Well, he's played, this move is kind of like, I don't want to say a given up move, because I can simply take with check, and I'm now going to go a piece up when I either take the bishop or take the knight. And we can maybe see that the mistake my opponent actually played in this game is that he didn't castle. This has been the problem, and now I just got to play a little bit accurately. I'm going to take here, threatening the bishop. Just got to do some safe calculations here, and I've realised that I've got bishop e6 in all positions here, but I am 2 pieces up, and bishop e6 is the move that glues my position together. And next move, if he takes on b7 or does anything else, got to watch out. All my pieces are covered, they're all defended, so let's keep developing. Got a lovely square for my knight, and don't relax though. This is something that I do too often. When I get a winning position, I just think, yeah, it's going to win itself. No chess game wins itself. I'm still going to move my knight here because I attack his queen. We're just going to see where he moves his queen before I decide on the placement of my rook. Maybe e4 is good because I'm targeting one of his weak pawns. Always look for weaknesses in your opponent's position, and if you can target them, why not? I don't think it's doing a great deal over on h4. I could be setting up a sacrifice here, but it looks a bit speculative. I think I said that semi-okay. Was that right? Dyslexia kicking in again. But this makes a lot more sense. And next move, well, these guys aren't doing anything, so I'm going to try to bring them out with purpose. That and that is a threat, and I can bring my last piece to e8, which is a good square. And do note here that, you know, I've got a winning position, but in all of these games, whenever I get a winning position, my opponent has more time. So time handling, and I'm generally trying to give advice not just for blitz but your overall game. But time handling, if you're finding you're getting losing positions but you have a lot of time left on your clock, well, I'm just going to guard my queen against any tactics so my rook can move, and I you know, just playing safe here. If you're finding that you're not using your time well, clearly, but okay, he's attacking a pawn, I defend a pawn, nice and easy. And what you maybe should be doing is playing longer time limits. Now, I'm doing 5 minutes to try and get as many games as I can, but I do recommend 5 minutes quite fast. It's fun, but I think a perfect time limit is like 15 minutes, half an hour chess, because you can play a couple of games a day maybe. You can learn some stuff, you can try some stuff out, but you know, you're not panicking about your time. You have you have chances to think. Now, I was always hoping my queen can come into g3 here. I want to keep my pieces as actively as possible. I don't want to retreat my queen. You know, why would I do that? I want to keep it as, you know, obviously when you move your queen into your enemy's part of the board, you've got to be careful because you don't want to lose it. But it feels to be safe here, and I have many ideas. Even with this knight coming in, check, he's got to watch out for. At the moment, he's covering that square. But at some point that could be a problem. Now, his queen was guarding the pawn, it's not anymore, so I'm going to take that one, and again, that's just paying attention to what my opponent's doing, and my queen's just going to come back. He can't chase it anymore. Really, chess is about paying attention to your opponent's ideas and adapting. One life skill I think I've really learned from chess is adapting, because you have to, what's it Bruce Lee said, you have to be, you have to, I can't remember his saying now, but I keep forgetting his saying. I'm going to attack his queen. You have to be able to adapt like water bends or something. Someone can put it in the chat. And chess is the same. You have to be extremely aware of what your opponent's doing. I'm just creating a pin here. I could have taken the pawn over there, but I'm keeping now some ideas to finish him off. And you know what? I'm just going to bring my last rook in to overprotect things because he's not doing anything. I'm adapting to his passive play, and I'm also kind of just waiting for him to go even more wrong here. And now, well, I will take this pawn now because he has got defensive set up, but I've induced his king onto a bad square, allowing this check. I didn't do that last move because he took my rook, but you can see by just waiting with this move, I've actually realized that a lot of his moves make his position worse. So there's a lot going on underneath the surface. So even though my moves, why did I play rook f8 there? It was realizing, I'm looking, where can he move these rooks? Well, nowhere really. Where can he move his queen? Nowhere. And I'm realizing by understanding the whole position, he's going to make his position worse. So this was, well, this little tactic rook e8 and knight takes e4 was a little bit hard to maybe see, but it's quite logical. You should be looking at taking this pawn, your rook's lined up, and the tactics worked okay. Now let's try to get one more game in for this video, and our rating is getting up to the 1200 thing. We'll do a little, I'm going to go for the Jabava London, which we've been showing quite a bit. You can buy this as a chessboard course from me. And the Jabava I think, is basically stage 1 is you do this. I could also go into a French defense here, but let's keep it in the Jabava London. This is stage 1, knight, pawn, queen. And my opponent's playing one of the better lines. He's pinning me straight away. And my strategy against this is to play e3 so that my knight can quickly come and give a bit of extra protection to the knight on c3. And he's now come in. And knight e2 I could play, but I'm also now thinking that that does nothing. That's just a pure defensive move. He has got a threat, so I've got to look at what he's trying to do. He's trying to take my knight. Now, if I play queen d3, I defend that square and I attack his knight. So this is not just a pure defensive move. It has some value. Now, it does discombobulate my bishop. My opponent playing well here, but it seems like an okay way to play. Now, he has got b6 next move, but no, he doesn't because I have this check. Now, this would be a very artificial move because I'm not thinking about my opponent's best defenses. And if he goes knight c6, I've placed my queen on a bad square. But I'm going to move my knight here, so I'm properly covered. I don't want to double my pawns. So if he takes here, I'd rather go here. Now, it's time, I think, to start pushing his pieces back. If your opponent moves pieces into your half, and again, he's gone forwards a lot here, but actually, a lot of times when you go forwards, you just get pushed back after some good defensive moves. And I'm going to give the bishop a kick. I would like it if he takes here, because after some exchanges, I get the bishop pair. Now, the bishop pair's, I think, a bit overrated in some, especially at this level. But it is an advantage for me, mainly because let's look at his pawn structure. He's put his pawns on light squares. What does that mean? Now, this is just a mistake. He played this after 5 seconds full. If you're going to go into a tactical sequence, you need to tank a little bit of time. In chess, there's certain critical moments, and you can play a lot of moves quickly, but when it gets complicated, you need to use that time. And this is a mistake, because after g3, I'm going to be winning material. But before I go there, I was saying, when your opponent puts pawns on light squares, often your light square bishop will be blockaded out, but your other color bishop will be very good because it can move around those. It can float around those pawns. But here, after g3, he simply lost a piece. So the point is, this is a very typical mistake. He was doing fine, but he saw a tactical idea and he got excited. But you need to sit on your hands, and if you see a tactical idea, double check and even triple check. Look at your opponent's most natural move, which is g3. After this one, I've won a very nice piece. I've got a g file to attack. I'm gonna now castle queenside. Looks the safest area for my board. That's not a board, that's a king. And I'm just gonna try now. Well, can I grab another pawn? You know what? I don't see a reason not. I want to put the bishop on f4 eventually, kick his queen away, but I'm gonna grab a pawn on the way. and then I'm going to try to generate an attack on the G file. So even though I'm piece up, we've got to be careful still, as always. Don't relax. Easy. No, don't relax, Simon. Let's keep playing good moves. Watch out for your opponent's possibilities. I don't fear anything on the C file. My pawn stops his knight coming in, but I'm being very aware of his possibilities. I'm going to just start targeting. It's often a good idea to find a target that you want to attack. It was G7. Now it's G6. How do I increase the pressure there? The standard idea would be H4, H5, but he might take that with his queen. It feels like I need to rearrange my pieces, as my queen's not very good here. And if I'm going to try to attack this square, I need to get my queen over there. Where do I want to maneuver that? I think I want to get my queen on the dark square here, where my bishop increases and I line up. So I'm going to move my queen to F2, and that also helps me go H4, H5. So all of my little planning moves are based on pure logic. Now this move, trying to come into C4, makes a lot of sense, but my queen is also lined up against that knight, and I can release a tactic now. Knight takes D5, quite a simplish tactic, where my queen now goes there. He's blundered his queen. I will take that. Thank you very much. And again, he hasn't even spent half of his time getting a position where he could resign. So what have we learnt from this rating range? And the rating range I've been concentrating is like 1,000 to 1,200. We are going to be going up with these series of videos. There's going to be a lot of them, but hopefully you can also work your way through them, go back and try to get used to the little things, that I'm bringing up. Important, the opening is important. This is key, but my opponent probably knew that this is one of the best suggested moves, but even when he played the best suggested moves, he didn't really know what he was doing after I played some logical responses. So in some ways, the opening is important, but it's also overrated. This is very key. So many people, they concentrate on learning, memorizing opening moves without understanding the ideas. The reason I love creating video format for the stuff that I sell is that I give the opportunity to explain the ideas behind the moves, the why. Now why, if you're going to learn one thing from this video, it's why. And you need to be able to give a verbal explanation to yourself while you're playing a move. If you can't, you're probably playing the wrong move. And my opponent, he played these normal looking moves, but after A3 he starts to get kicked back. He has to really take this one, but now I get the bishop pair, and after this move he had to exchange here with a normal game. He played this move nearly instantaneously, and it's just losing. So if you're going to dive in with a tactical idea when you're under threat, he's not really looking at what I'm doing. Double check, triple check before you play it. Obviously that's quite hard in blitz chess, but it's something you should build up. Please do like and subscribe to this video. It really makes a big difference, and I'll try to get more of these out. Obviously been a bit busy developing gchess.com, which I'd love if you could check out as well. Really proud of what's going on with gchess.com. We're trying to make it in a way to explain how you can improve your openings, and it's going well there. Cheers. And was that a wink or a nervous twitch on something in between? Cheers. Cheers, my lovies. Cheers.